The writing is just so great, okay? Vivian cuts her hand, and this becomes an integral plot point. It gets used again. It's
Mm-hmm.
relevant information. Hey, everyone. I'm Becca, he's Matt, and this is Book Love Podcast.
Hello. Man, I know it's not going to feel this way to like the people listening because of scheduling and everything, but it's been a hot minute, Becca.
It has. It's been a very hot minute. I finished 5 books since we last talked.
Yeah, I saw that. I think I read like 3 since we last talked.
To be fair, I listened to them, and I also learned how to knit, and those 2 activities went really well together.
Okay, so are you at some point going to tell me about this series that you read?
One more? 2 more? 1 more. I have 1 more in the series, and I think a companion novel I still need to read. So I guess the question is, do you want to hear a tidbit now, or do you want to wait until I'm done?
I want to wait until you're done, and I want you to throw it at me like you did with the Black Witch Chronicles.
I gotcha.
Yeah. I did see online that people apparently become very obsessed with the Bonds That Tie series that you started.
I mean, I think 3 weeks finishing 5 books is pretty good, especially considering I didn't have that much time, so it was all driving time and like knitting time.
How long are each of those books? Are they like 300-page books, 500-page books?
I don't know page count because I listened to them and they were about 10 to 11 hours.
10 to 11 hours. Do you have any idea what that correlates to? No? Okay. Well, we started a new buddy read. That's what we're doing today. Yes. Last Call at the Nightingale. Book 1 of the Nightingale Mysteries by Katharine Schellman. Can I just say the cover game is strong with these ones.
They're gorgeous books.
Like, I think that might be half the reason I bought the entire series when we were in Virginia.
I've bought books over worse premises before.
I left my copy downstairs, but I had Katharine Schellman personalize all of them for me. And book 1 is Dance Till Last Call.
Also, just what phenomenal
Yes.
handwriting. What phenomenal
Yes.
handwriting.
Yeah, she's a phenomenal human being. But we are like 56, 58% of the way through this puppy now.
We are.
What do you think so far?
I am having a ball. So it's like 180 pages, and I read that in like 4-ish hours.
It took me like
Which
4
is a
days.
pretty impressive pace for me.
I think it took me 4 days because there's so much going on. And I'm over here like taking notes and writing summaries for our episodes. And so like I read like 4 or 5 chapters and I'm like, okay, time for a break. That was a lot.
To be fair, those 4 hours were all broken up.
Okay. That makes me feel better. Cause with our fantasy books, I can sit and I will read. Like I remember reading some of those things for like 8 or 9 hours straight without a break other than to like use the restroom. But like this, there's like the plot and the story is so dense and rapid that I'm like, okay, let's breathe.
Notice because maybe it's because of the genre shift or whatnot, but I feel like I'm spending a lot less energy trying to visualize what's going on because there's something very comforting about like this time and place feels known to me. So I feel like I'm not wasting as much energy trying to like create a landscape in my mind. I'm like, yeah, it's New York in the 1920s. It's a hoppin' vibin' place.
Yeah, speaking of which, we should probably tell the genre shift. We should probably tell everybody we are not reading a fantasy book, y'all. This is a mystery book.
And while I don't want to say it's out of our comfort zone, it is new for us to buddy read a genre like this.
Mhm, mhm. Um, I absolutely adore this, and I'll tell you why. You mentioned the 1920s speakeasy stuff. In my head, the narration is like a 1920s New York City private detective, kinda
Mm.
corny voice. Yes, and then I can very clearly hear, like, Irish accents and, like, Brooklyn accents and Manhattan accents, and it's so much fun. It's it does not get old. It's kinda campy,
Mhm.
but, like, in a good way. It's awesome. I don't
Should we
know.
just
I
get
love it.
into it?
Do you hear those voices when you read? Or
Um, I don't hear the detective voice like you're hearing. And maybe Vivian's gonna grow into it for me. But I think I'm more stuck in the like, this is someone who was thrown into something she wasn't expecting to be thrown into.
Mhm. Yes, okay. Yes, we should definitely jump into it with, like, a little bit of a plot recap first.
We are immediately thrown into the world, atmosphere, and amazing cast of characters of the Nightingale, a small, hip 1920s New York City speakeasy. Matt, set the mood.
It's late, maybe midnight. The Nightingale is small but packed, offering a bar selection that rivals any club in New York. Jazz music flows and cigarette smoke fills the air. It's a dream, an escape, a shroud to the desires that are both innocent and nefarious.
Vivian Kelly is a poor Irish woman who is escaping the drudgery of her factory job. She has the trademark Irish red hair, but she dyes it black and has it cut into the latest fashion, a bob.
At this exact moment, Vivian is taking a break from dancing to spend time with her best friend, Beatrice Henry, a black girl on break from her waitressing duties at the Nightingale.
We also meet Danny Chin, a Chinese bartender who seems to keep an eye on the bar, the staff, and whoever the Nightingale's owner, Honor Uxley, tells him to.
Speaking of Ms. Huxley, she is a taller than average lady. Her attire at work is slightly masculine, but she has an exceedingly feminine face. In short, she's a gorgeous blonde chick. Gorgeous.
She manages the club meticulously, seems friendly with her employees, and is very friendly with Vivian.
We also meet a handful of other club goers. Women escaping the partners and children they left at home, privileged businessmen looking to mingle with beautiful but poor and taboo girls, and everyone in between.
Some are newcomers, some are regulars. Some names keep track of Mr. Lawrence, Roy, Mags, and an unnamed brunette who is new to the club.
Our story truly begins when Bee and Vivian step outside into the back alley just as Roy comes inside to share a smoke before Bee's break ends. It's about 1 in the morning and all is well with the night until Vivian discovers a dead dude in the alley with.
Understandably startled, they nonetheless have. Oop, whew, that was a moment. We're having a moment here. Understandably startled, they nonetheless have very different reactions. Bee is freaked, while Vivian is almost hypnotized with curiosity. Vivian stays with the body to make sure nothing happens to it, and Bee runs inside to find Miss Huxley, who promptly comes outside with some muscle to handle the situation.
When Vivian arrives back home at her tenement apartment, we are introduced to her older sister, Florence, who is still awake, awaiting Vivian, and is decidedly Vivian's opposite.
Vivian is outgoing, she skirts the edges of propriety, and follows the latest trends. Flo, on the other hand, is a bit of a homebody. She remains prim and proper and does not care for Vivian or her lifestyle. Nonetheless, the two are sisters and they love each other.
It's a super late night, but the sisters still wake up early and take care of their responsibilities before going to work at Miss Ethel's dressmaking factory, where they are sewers. Is that a real word, sewers?
Huh? Yeah.
Okay, sure. They sew things.
After work, Vivian and Bay make plans to go to the Vivian and B make plans to go to the Nightingale, to catch up on the latest gossip.
There, Vivian is asked to dance by a very charming and smooth talking man who she presumes was a bootlegger in Chicago. His name is Leo Green, and he's back in New York after 5 years away. But their dancing is interrupted when the Nightingale is raided by the police.
The Nightingale erupts into pandemonium as packed patrons scramble for the exits.
Vivian is knocked to the ground, cuts her hand on a shard of glass, but somehow avoids being trampled until a police officer helps her to her feet.
Along with Mr. Lawrence, Mags, and the unnamed brunette, and Leo, Vivian is taken downtown where she spends a long, cold night in what they call the drunk tank.
The next morning, B shows up to pay Vivian's bail, and Danny shows up to pay his childhood friend Leo's bail. All four of them exit the precinct together into the cold morning air.
As it turns out, that the Nightingale was one of the 4 establishments raided last night. All 4 of them were joints the dead fella had been seen at recently.
As Danny and Leo peel off to get some breakfast, B takes Vivian back to the Nightingale to see Miss Huxley, who's the one who put up the cheese to pay her bail.
In the apartment above the club, an exhausted Vivian meets with Honor, who is attired in an ostentatiously bright robe and not much else. Honor pours 2 glasses of whiskey and flirts her way through the conversation.
She sure is glad to have helped Vivian, but it's a dog world out there, and Honor wants a favor for a favor.
All she has to do is cozy up to the new man in town, Mr. Leo Green, and find out anything interesting about him or the dead fella, Willard Wilson, so that Honor can supply enough information to keep the Nightingale from being shut down.
Vivian does everything in her power not to be distracted by Honor's flirtatious behavior and ends up very bluntly declining the invitation to help, much to Honor's surprise, before she takes her leave.
Back home, Flo is vexed. She cleans and wraps Vivian's damaged hand, instructing her to stay at home and rest while she smooths everything over with their factory boss, Miss Ethel.
Vivian's sleep is interrupted during the day when Danny knocks on the door, along with a smile and a package for Vivian from Ms. Huxley. It's a pair of new stockings and a note saying that Vivian is always welcome at the club. Maybe she could come on by tonight to finish the chat from this morning.
Reluctantly, Vivian agrees. Watching Danny leave from her window, she notices 2 big men in black suits discreetly and nefariously begin to follow him.
So Vivian throws on some clothes and darts out the front door in pursuit, because who wouldn't? And she catches up in time to see Danny in an alley brawl with the 2 men.
Danny takes one of them out and Vivian bashes the other over the head with some food she found on the ground. Vivian is shaking.
That was supposed to say wood.
Okay, that makes more sense because I was like, it wasn't foot. I swear it was like a piece of plywood.
Oh, man. Okay.
I love it.
Yeah. And thoughts begin to swirl through Vivian's head for the rest of the afternoon. If Danny is being targeted, who's next? B? Vivian herself? Flo? And what happens if the Nightingale is shut down? What does she have to live for outside of her job?
Even though she told Flo she wasn't going anywhere, Vivian gets ready and slips out to the Nightingale to meet with Honor, who pours her a drink. Without any prompting, Vivian relates how she feels and that she'll do anything to help save the club and the people she loves.
And so the amateur sleuthing begins. Each evening, Leo visits the Nightingale, allegedly in search of the beautiful Vivian so he can.
And Vivian flirts, dances, and questions her way through a quasi-relationship with him, always on the hunt for more information about Wilson. And Viv also recruits B to help snoop around.
At first, they come up empty. Nobody really knew him, least of all Leo. Even tracking down Wilson's hat maker seems to be a dead end. But Vivian does dance with an acquaintance named Jimmy, who knew Wilson and knew he was at the Nightingale trying to woo Mags.
Dun dun dun. But then Vivian finds out that Wilson's wife had her dresses made at Miss Ethel's, where she works.
Along with her injured hand and a little bit of manipulation, Vivian finds herself handling deliveries instead of sewing duty. Blah, blah, blah. And one of those deliveries, wouldn't you know it, is to Wilson's widow, Hattie.
At the Wilsons' residence on Fifth Avenue, Vivian waits and waits for Hattie to appear. She finally pokes her head out into the hallway and witnesses a lover's quarrel of sorts between Hattie and Roy.
On her way home in the rain, the two men that assaulted Danny corner Vivian in an alley and accost her, trying to find out why Vivian was at Hattie Wilson's home that day.
After banging her head against the alley wall and hurting her a little, they still believe that the dressmaker explanation is a lie. But before they can get truly violent, they're scared off by a nameless brunette from the Nightingale, Sadie Mondolo.
Vivian half dries off at Sadie's apartment and tries to save Hattie Wilson's wet dresses while learning that Sadie knew Wilson. Her father worked for him before he passed away recently. And Sadie knows the two goons who attacked Danny and Vivian.
But the conversation is over too quickly, and Vivian heads to B's to compare notes, where we learn of Sadie's tragic family, the runaway sister and the father who ate his own pistol.
Vivian makes up her mind to tell Honor what she's discovered so far so that she can get out of this very dangerous situation.
Back at home, before Flo can become too irate at Vivian's bloodied and bruised condition, Leo comes knocking to ask Viv to the movies. But his jovial invitation falls short when he sees the bruises, and Vivian can't ignore his questions.
So out comes the truth about Ms. Huxley's favor and Vivian's dangerous sleuthing and what she's found out so far. Leo is all of the emotions, but ends up landing on respecting Vivian as an independent woman who don't need no Leo.
While Vivian washes up, Leo comes back with dinner for Vivian and Flo. After Vivian and Flo eat their fill, Vivian slips out into the dark, back to the Nightingale.
Honor is absolutely delighted by everything that Vivian has discovered so far, and also a little horrified at the danger that Viv has endured. But it's not quite enough information.
Miss Huxley persuades Vivian to keep going with the investigation, despite Viv's protests, by offering her a piece of blackmail on Miss Ethel that might just make life easier for Vivian and Flo.
After just a little bit of contemplation, Vivian decides to accept and save her second home because, again, what would her life be like without it?
The next couple of days pass without incident. Viv lays low and stays at home when she's not delivering the dresses for Miss Ethel. Each day, Flo comes home from work, more upset and tired.
Leo continues bringing dinners, and Vivian finally agrees to a date. So she and Leo go out on the town, a movie and a little bit of dinner, before going back to his place to snag a drink.
There are newspapers all over the table, all turned to various stories about Wilson or Hattie. Vivian is curious as to why Leo has all these papers open.
He acts kind of oddly before regaining his composure and explains that he was merely looking for ways to help Vivian in her investigation. But that's over. She's out. It doesn't matter anymore.
But she's not, and she tells him so. Much to his shock and quickly smoothed over anger, Leo suggests they keep searching the papers.
And our story comes to a pause as the two spend the night searching the newspapers and drinking. And maybe something else. We'll have to see.
Hey, everyone. We need to take a minute to thank today's sponsor.
Have you been reading books lately whose plot just feels like a bunch of limp noodles? Missing the right amount of spice? Too much or maybe not enough cheese?
Well, you could write your own book, but we know that not everybody can. So we're here with the perfect substitute. Ready for it? Pasta.
That's right. No prophecies, no secret twins, no inexplicable magic, just carbs and more wonderful carbs.
Pasta is the perfect replacement for books. Unlike some stories, pasta actually delivers, and you can make it however you like.
Whether you prefer penne, rigatoni, or fettuccine, pasta is always there for you, even when storytelling isn't.
Pasta, because sometimes the only twist you need is the one around your fork.
And back to the show.
Do we agree that Leo is not to be trusted?
Yes, we agree. Here's a little bit of texture in my mind. I love Leo, and I'm rooting so hard for Leo to be the good guy. But I know that there's another, and he might be the good guy, but there's something sus. And there's another shoe that's going to drop.
Huh? Yeah.
We don't know anything about him, as Vivian has pointed out.
Nothing.
He evades your questions.
And she is doing really good at keeping information away from him right up until that end.
Right up until the end, when the whiskey gets the better of her.
Yeah.
So he's back in town and he's working for his uncle, right?
Ambiguous, but yes.
What do you think he's doing? Or what do you think his uncle is doing?
I don't know. Oh my gosh, why is my phone going off? You can blame my mom. Okay.
I think he's still in the bootlegging industry.
It has to be. You don't just yeah.
I do think he's doing something different. Like, you get the sense that in Chicago, he was like a street tough in the bootlegger industry, like almost like an enforcer or something like that. Now I think he's more on the business end of it. He's out of the enforcer stuff, but his interests are still, there.
Yeah. Interest or skill set or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Part of me thinks that the dead fella
Mhm.
owed Leo's uncle money.
That would make sense.
But also clearly it's not just Leo, right? Roy is super sus as well.
Yes, but also feels a little on the nose, right? Because literally we meet Roy, like he's probably the second man we meet after Mr. Lawrence, right? And he's coming from the alley. That's a little too on the nose, right?
It's a little too on the nose. And then when Vivian overhears or whatever, the lovers quarrel, and then what's their names? Eddie and George or something like that, the two street toughs.
Yep.
Say their boss sent them. Who else could have known where Vivian was other than Roy?
Right.
So
then I still want it to be Roy, even though I know that's not the answer.
But you want to know what'd be really interesting? You know who else knew that Vivian was there? Hattie.
Yeah.
Is she involved in the bootlegging industry?
And she has a sister that everyone seems to dislike.
Mm-hmm. And her husband was like paying for the sister's education and stuff. So like, why? I think the mystery is really, really well done so far without being convoluted.
The writing is just so great, okay? Vivian cuts her hand, and this becomes an integral plot point. It gets used again. It's relevant information.
Yes, to that point, I absolutely adore how organic it all feels. I mean, clearly to get an an amateur sleuth involved, you have to have some type of not natural impetus. So, I mean, it's natural, but it's also like other people would probably be like, "Nah, I'm good." But like the way in which she sleuths is so organic with the cut hand, with the just I'm just gonna flirt with boys
Yeah.
and dance. Um,
And all of this feels within character for Vivian. Like, we're given this image of Vivian being, uh, they don't have a younger sibling necessarily, but she gives strong, like, middle child vibes. Like, I know what the rules are. I'm breaking them because I don't care about them.
she's definitely sort of like the lost generation, yeah?
Yeah. I've got one
Yeah,
or two rules I keep by. I know how to skirt the line, but life's too good to not have fun.
yeah. No, I love so, like we were talking about Leo and Roy, um, maybe Hattie is involved, and how is Huxley? How's Miss Huxley involved in that world? I don't think anything nefarious is going on there. Um, but like
For now.
we don't know, but we can follow all of the individual threads. And I think that that is really, really good writing. Like, it's so understandable, but yet you still don't understand.
And I fully understand how we got 4 books out of this. Like, I
Mhm.
can kind of already see the splintering in the storyline of where this is gonna pick up and how we're gonna get 3 additional storylines out of this world that was created.
Do you think well, actually, we're gonna get to that later. We'll get to that later. Can we talk about the cast of characters for a second?
Sure.
I absolutely love how diverse they are, and it doesn't feel like it's forced.
Mhm,
So, like, the bartender's a Chinese dude.
mhm,
Beatrice is a black girl. Flo and Vivian are Irish girls.
mhm,
You kind of get the sense that Honor Huxley is like a Manhattan American
mhm,
white girl. Um, you got a dude like Leo is from Chicago. You have rich guys. Uh, then you have Beatrice's family is originally from Baltimore. Like it's so mingled, and then you have some gay people and some lesbian people, and Vivian is kind of questioning there in the middle.
mhm.
Like, I love it. They're all so different, but they all feel so homogenous.
Yeah, because especially in that day and age, you weren't out in society, so you were out in the speakeasy. Like, people congregated that were oppressed,
Mhm.
and I think that's kind of lovely to kinda open that window and explore that world a little bit.
I really appreciated, I think she's dancing with Jimmy,
Mm-mm.
and Jimmy's like, "Oh, doll, I'm not the marrying type. I have an older brother, so I'm good to go." And it's like this really veiled, thing of like, "I'm gay."
Mhm. Yep.
But then what I loved was how Vivian responded with, "I hear that. I'm only halfway to being the marrying type." And I'm just like, "Ooh, ooh, ooh, that was well done. I like that a lot."
Yes. Yes. Very clever, very crafty, very lavender marriage-esque.
Huh. And on the same token of like subtlety and or being organic, the racism
Mhm.
is just this like silent, permeating presence throughout everything.
Right? The black cab driver checking on B to make sure B is safe with the Irish and the Chinese man.
But like also the restaurants won't serve because Danny and Beatrice are there. People don't like the Irish girls either. They're poor and worthless.
Mhm.
But like it's not overt.
Mhm.
It's just sort of subtly there. The characters have accepted it as their plight in life, which I think is really, especially with the times we live in right now. I feel like I'm seeing it more than I might have seen it a decade ago if I would have read this book a decade ago. I wasn't published a decade ago, but you get what I'm saying.
Mhm. Yep.
Okay. Um, what else is on your mind? You read this just this afternoon.
Yeah. I had some catching up to do in order to get ready for this podcast. Um, I think that's about it. I'm in love with the cast of characters. I'm excited to see where this murder is going. I don't think it's Roy.
No. No, I think Roy's a red herring. I think Leo is a red herring as well. I don't think he's necessarily the good guy that I want him to be, but I also don't think he's the bad guy.
I think it'd be hard to have a few more books if our main male lead was.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um, well, I mean, so you have to have somebody really connected here because whoever took out Willard Wilson pissed off the police commissioner of New York City, which is why the Nightingale got raided. So you got to look at the socialites, and the only socialite we really have right now. I mean, Mags is, I think, a low key socialite,
Yes.
but she's not in the papers. We've gotten multiple references to her father, if you've
Mm-hmm.
noticed that. So, like,
Yep.
who is that guy? Is that guy sus?
Mm.
I'm really curious if Hattie Wilson is going to turn out to be like a Black Widow type of thing. It would be so fitting with the whole film noir 1920s vibe we've got going.
Right? The fact that she gave Vivian a lipstick is just like the sweetest thing at the very beginning.
Oh, yeah. Mags. That was Mags. Yeah, yeah, yeah. What do you think of Sadie? She was kind
I'm
of a late
curious
addition.
to learn more about Sadie. So Sadie was there for the original lipstick incident because she's the reason Vivian dropped her lipstick and smashed it into the ground. And we didn't know her name at that point. She was just the new girl. And we get the sense when we meet Sadie again that she was out for a night of fun because her life is horrible right now.
Mhm.
So I definitely think she's coming back in another book. I don't know if she's going to be integral to the rest of the plot points in this book, though.
Here's the question. Was she simply out for a night of fun because her life is miserable right now? Because she never went out again, as far as we know.
Touche. And that was the night.
It was either, yeah, it was the night, or it was the night after. It was definitely the night of the raid. And I can't remember if that was the first night or if that was the second night, but she just hasn't been back since.
I think it was the second night.
So, like, how is her father? Like, her father worked for Willard Wilson. Like, what does that mean? What did Willard Wilson do? Why did her father eat his own gun?
Mm-hmm.
What happened to her sister?
Hmm.
Is Hattie's sister, the one everybody hates, actually Sadie's sister? And that's why Sadie's sister ran away.
Or was Sadie's sister's pregnant from Mr. Willard, and that started the beef?
Or is Myrtle, um, Hattie's sister, also Sadie's sister, and the reason she's at school, which Willard Wilson is footing the entire bill for because she's pregnant?
Maybe.
What kind of ruse is going on here? Like, how twisted is this going to get?
Very.
It's fun. Okay. What do you think of what do you think is going to happen with Honor, Huxley, and Vivian? Is anything going to manifest there?
I hope there's a lot more flirtation, and maybe a solid kiss by the end.
I don't think it. I agree with you. I don't think it's going to coalesce into a relationship. I think Vivian gets to keep her options open, as it were,
Mm-hmm.
since this seems to be one of her sleuthing strengths.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I wouldn't mind getting a little physical with with Honor Huxley, though. I think that
Mhm.
would be a fun addition to the story, especially because allegedly she might have gotten physical with Leo here where we paused.
We'll find out more.
Yeah. Okay. Any immediate predictions for part 2?
Flo's pissed. Vivian goes home and Flo is pissed at her for a night out with Leo. 'Cause Flo.
Oh, I was talking to Elizabeth about this. Quickly. I want to see if we're on the same page with visuals. If you were casting people in some of these roles, I'm curious who you are seeing. So let's start with Vivian.
Ooh, I don't know that my characters have faces.
Ooh, really? Okay. Here's who I'm seeing. Catherine Zeta-Jones, specifically from Chicago, the
Okay,
movie.
okay. Yeah.
Okay. Honor Huxley. Do you have anyone?
This is
Okay.
a hard game for me.
All right. The Parent Trap, the dad's girlfriend, and I don't know why I just went blank. She's blonde. She's
Yep.
by the pool. She's like 26 or whatever,
Yes.
but like,
Big hat.
yeah, big hat.
Yep.
Yeah, that's who Honor Huxley reminds me of. Okay.
My honor's a
Dan,
bit more muscular.
yes, a little bit bigger, whatever, but it's like the face and the facial expressions and
Yes.
okay. Danny Chin. Can't help it, but because of the alley fight, I just I keep seeing a young Bruce Lee, but like in a shirt and tie pouring drinks, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, Roy, I see um oh, why can't I remember names? He is Rose's fiance in Titanic.
DiCaprio.
No, not DiCaprio, the dark-haired one, the moneyed one, the
Oh,
bad guy.
not DiCaprio. Not the main love interest.
Yeah. And for some reason, Leo is giving me very, very strong. Why can't I remember any celebrity names right now? He was Loki in the Marvel movies.
Mhm, mhm.
Tom, he's in The Night Manager. Season 2 just came out. Hiddleston, Tom Hiddleston? No, that's not right. Is that right?
I'm Googling. You're right. Tom
Okay,
Hiddleston.
Tom Hiddleston. I'm getting that with Leo Green for some reason. Beatrice, the last, I am, I have a combination of characters, and that just feels so racist to me for some reason. But it's very specifically from the uh, Daniel Craig James Bond movies. You have, and I can't remember their names. You have Moneypenny, Eve Moneypenny, and then you also have the woman who becomes 007. Some type of combination of those two girls.
Mm.
And then the Sadie, the nameless brunette girl, really reminds me of a Anna de Armas, specifically from when she was in the James Bond movie when she was in Cuba. This
Hey,
is who I would be casting into these
I was
characters.
gonna say, you have cast this movie.
I just don't know what who I would have as Willard Wilson or Hattie Wilson. I feel like Hattie needs to be somebody very strong though, but I can't remember what hair color Hattie Wilson has.
Now that we've gotten it.
Could do like a Scarlett Johansson though. I don't know. Okay. All right. Anyway, Elizabeth told me I had to talk to you about that. So that's it.
Yeah, let's put a bookmark in it for now.
Okay. Sounds like a plan. We will be back with part 2 of Last Call at the Nightingale pretty dang soon.
Don't forget to leave a comment or send us an email. Our contact information is in the description below.
Thanks for listening, y'all.
Until next time.
See ya.
Bye.